So I was doing a short film project in Jacksonville, and it was like a 48-hour film project, and we got thrown into it, and I played a character who was in a doctor's office, and I wasn't a doctor, but some criminal breaks in, and he thinks I'm a doctor, and he's trying to get me to fix him, which sounds pretty intense, but it was supposed to be a comedy, and we did it. It was fun. I was thinking the whole time, what would I really do if somebody broke in, and you're unarmed, you don't necessarily have any skills, how would you survive something like that? And I just started thinking about that. And that was sort of the genesis of the idea. Could you have a character who's a woman who, kind of stumbles into a situation where there's criminals, and could she find a way to survive? Maybe by using some savvy, figuring out how to turn them against each other. And that was sort of the germ of the idea. And then I mostly focused on writing because during the pandemic, I missed creating. There weren't any theater things going on. There weren't those things. And so, writing was my way of reconnecting with this art form, and it slowly turned into the full-length play that it is now. I really think it's going to challenge audiences. I think it's immediately going to thrust them into a situation where they're going to start to wonder for themselves what they would do if they were in a difficult situation. The play begins with two brothers. The older brother's new to this. He's never done anything criminal before, but his younger brother, he's fallen on hard times, and his younger brother is a safecracker. And so he breaks into businesses and he cracks the safes. And so he's teaching his older brother the ropes. And they're encountered by Anna, who's an accountant just coming into work on a Saturday, and she is immediately thrust in the situation where she has to figure out what to do with these two brothers and how she's going to survive the situation. But ultimately, the choices she makes, I would argue, are necessary for her survival, but are really going to make the audience question, would I make those same choices? Would I behave the way she did? Do I agree with how she acted? How would I have acted differently? And I just think it's going to cause the audience to, members of the audience to just have a lot of thoughts about themselves, about how they see the nature of crime, and I hopefully will change a lot of people's thinking of, so often when I saw victims who would overcome the situation, they were survivors and they would overcome it, there was a lot of negative stigma attached just to being a victim of domestic violence. Often people would say, I would never stay in a relationship like that. But the truth is, you wouldn't know unless you were in that situation, and oftentimes they were in something that they couldn't so easily escape. And then when they did, they were judged for how they did it, under what circumstances. So as you see this character who, again, through no fault of her own, ends up in the situation, I hope it'll challenge audience members to think about how they would react in the circumstance, and if they disagree with something she did, really question, okay, well, how could you possibly have done things differently? We think we would know how we'd behave in a certain circumstance, but until you are in it, you really don't know how you would.